Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And boy, do we have some changes to talk about tonight. Uh, wow. How things can dramatically change over a 24-hour period. So we still have our coastal nor'easter non-tropical low pressure system that is causing some very significant and very powerful impacts here along the east coast of the United States. Folks, please stay safe. Avoid going out to the open waters. There's going to be some massive continuation of beach erosion, flooding. So please, folks, just be as careful as possible. And then there was none. Jerry's gone. As of the 5 p.m. advisory here from the National Hurricane Center, we now have the remnants of Jerry. Jerry is no longer a tropical cyclone. But at 2 a.m. this morning, the National Hurricane Center decided to come out and issue a tropical outlook that highlighted our little spot right here. And ever since then, it has been gaining 10% with each subsequent advisory. So, as of the 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time advisory, we currently have a highlighted area of interest out here, way out into the open waters of the Atlantic, with a 20% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. If we look at it here on satellite, it does have quite a bit of thunderstorm and shower activity here, and a little bit of kind of looks like it may have a little bit of spin getting involved there. Again, this one is. I very rarely say this, but this one looks to be a fish storm. I very rarely say that, but that one doesn't really look like it has much of an opportunity for anything. If it anything at all, it would be in Azores or getting over here towards like the Canary Islands. Otherwise than that, we're not really looking at much on that at all. Certainly no threat to the western portions of the basin. As you can see here, get up to about 40, 45 degrees west, and that's going to be about as far as it's going to get. It's not really forecast to make it past 50 at all. And, well, as you can see, South America here, and extreme, up here in extreme Atlantic Canada, there's nothing on the east side of 50 other than some islands. So, if it wants to stay out there, by all means, I'll be more than happy to look at it and watch it churn into the open waters of the Atlantic. This is Jerry, and I would like everybody to just to kind of, I didn't pull up a bunch here, so you've got the kind of like this, and then you've got the trough right there. You could see it starting to fire up. So, and then the whole surface feature is like elongated out like this. So, okay. Jerry's gone. We'll see Jerry again in 6 years. Taking a quick look at EarthNull to kind of get an idea of exactly what was really going on. Here we are at the surface. There's not much for Jerry at all. You really don't see a closed low coming up 1 mile above the ocean surface. Obviously, with our coastal low, this is where all the impacts are. And we didn't necessarily need a system with a name to cause some serious impacts. And I know that these folks up here, it's going to be an absolutely terrible weekend. And from some signals, we may end up with 2 areas of vorticity along this thing. The Euro wants to agree, GFS not so much, but that's been showing up over the last 24 hours with these runs, and it's kind of concerning because, well, if you get a double area of vorticity, now you have 2 vectors of onshore flow for down here along the southeastern United States. That's not good. And of course, we've got our little spot out there that is our highlighted area of interest. I will say we do have another wave that is going to come off the mainland, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. And then, last but not least, while we're over here on Earth Null, we still have we still have Raymond. Raymond's been downgraded to a tropical depression. I was kind of hoping that it would end up being post-tropical here at the 5 and basically just kill the National Hurricane Center's named storms for its entire coverage area. But Raymond's going to go post-tropical at the 11 p.m. advisory. That'll be its last advisory. The 5 p.m. was the last one here for Jerry. All right, now we're going to jump into the ensembles. And what we're going to look at here, I do need to come back and show everybody that at least right now, this little cloud thunderstorm mass right here, when this slides over and then you've got the pull back with this trough, it's not marked, but it's something to watch later on. And then obviously one more thing, this wave right there, as you can see it is just now getting ready to exit the African mainland. It looks a lot stronger than what it really is. I did look at some European satellites before the live. It has its shape, but it is not as bad as what it seems here. You're looking at it from an angle and not up above. The European satellite looks at it from almost directly up above. And that provided a little bit more information on that particular wave. Now, as we could see, going out 7 days, we do have a small signal here. Please keep in mind there is nothing noted on the National Hurricane Center, and your probability chances are about 10%. Okay? So, yes, you do see these, but the probability of that is so low that it's not really of concern at this time. If things change, we will certainly let folks know. We also have our other area that is currently highlighted. As you can see, this is where that's forecast to go. The whatever here of Jerry is headed this way. Our coastal nor'easter type system is here, and then maybe getting a little bit of a stronger non-tropical low pressure. So the only things that we have that are tropical right now in nature are going to be below that line. So anything that is north of 25 degrees north right now is non-tropical. They're no matter any of these lines up here, that's not tropical. Anything below, that's where we're looking at right now. So we have our little area of interest highlighted now, and then we've also got this little sneaky boy, and that's gonna have to be the one to watch. I'm not too overly concerned with it. The development percentages on it are not very high at all. It's just one of those ones to where if it were to get developed, it could be a problem. But to get it to develop, that's a whole nother ball game. So we're going to run this out to day 10, and as you can see, we didn't get anything else out here in the Western Caribbean. So like I told you, these three lines right here, they equate to 6%, folks. I'm literally not even concerned about that. But we've got our other spot out here. And now, as you could see, very low probability on these. All right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're looking at 16%. Two of them develop it early and intensify it early and run it off like this. The other ones are going to then want to track like this. Now, that's a little bit of a concern. Like I said, if it does get developed, which it has a very low probability of development, it could be one that we have to watch, but I'm not too overly concerned about it at this time. Now, if we were just looking at the Euro legacy model, now when we come over here to the GEFS, it's a whole different ball game. And this is one of the reasons why it's like, all right, maybe we're just have to watch this one. If we go out 7 days, there's not really a lot different than what we were just looking at with the previous frame. But when I go from day 7 to day 10, that's a whole different set of circumstances. All right, so we'll go in through half a day at a time here, and then we'll see that yes, each one of these lines are still probability based, and they have approximately 3% probability value per line. There's 31 members of the GEFS ensemble grouping, and 33%, like 33 times 3, 99. So it's a little over 3%, being that it's 31. But that's just enough to want to be like, all right, wait a minute, we'll have to, kind of see how this plays out. But once again, these are our legacy models. These are the models that we've been using for, before this season. Well, this season has debuted some newer things, especially with artificial intelligence and AI. If we look at the Euro AI ensembles, we don't see hardly anything. And if I push this out to day 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10% chance. With absolutely nothing over here in the Western Caribbean. Zip, zero, nada. Okay, so we don't have much there. Now, if we compare that with the Google DeepMind, and yes, I was over here playing with DeepMind off into the Indian Ocean because I'm trying to find things to monitor. And we'll come back to that later on after we get out of the Atlantic. So we're going to run Google DeepMind forward. There goes our first little wave. Not a lot. You don't see much. Maybe getting over there towards the Canary Islands. Like I said, here comes that second wave. 2 circles. That represents 4% right there. Now we're going to run this out and we're going to get it to day 10. At this point, we have 5 circles, which represent 10% probability, and the Google DeepMind is strictly probabilistic, and there's 50 ensemble members, and they represent 2% chance. If I run that forward, we get a couple more, but then look where they go. So we're not getting that heavy curve like what we saw with the potential for the GEFS. We're not seeing that run up to the west-northwest. If anything, the Google DeepMind is like, look, you'll just stay stuck down and just roll right on through. Have a nice time. But also, we all have to take all of what we just saw with a grain of salt. The wave hasn't even exited the African mainland yet. How will this respond when it actually leaves the continental mass and emerges over the open waters? Will it digest? How's things going to work out? That's a question that we won't know until it actually gets out over the open waters. Now, real quick, I do want to run over some of the impacts here that we have for the east coast of the United States. To put it lightly, granted, it is a non-tropical system, but I'm sure that I won't have to tell anybody along the coastline that all hell's breaking loose in some spots. And it did it so much yesterday that, and I did not pull this up, but I will. I'm going to show you the state of Florida over the last 48 hours. Of This is our National Weather Service Office precipitation analysis. And as you can see, we've had a couple pockets of bullseye. And this is what I was mentioning yesterday. There was an extreme amount of rain in areas that we were looking at here as this storm was developing. And if I come over here to cyclonic WX, we'll go radar, we'll pull up the United States and take a look, folks. There is a great amount of rain that is still continuing to fall. Some of these areas desperately needed rain due to drought conditions. But sometimes too much of a good thing is not necessarily a good thing. We still have the entrainment of moisture out here into the southwest U.S., one from Priscilla, and another one here from the moisture being strung out with Raymond. So flash flooding is still a possibility out here into this region as well. But this onshore flow is the problem. Big problems. Yes, Sammy, there is still a chance. It might only be 3%, but like the old Dumb and Dumber movie, like where it's just like, so you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah. I am, but it's certainly not high. There's no doubt about that. Throwing this all into motion, as you could see, a great amount of rain up here for those folks. Still getting some entrainment coming up from the south, starting to lose a lot of that energy down there. Looks to be over the Bahamas. Florida, the east coast of Florida, you guys are starting to calm down there a little bit. Still some decent onshore winds there into northeastern Florida. But everything is just now beginning for the Carolinas, has been pretty much all day, and will start to begin here up for the folks into the northeast. So this one's gonna pack a punch, folks. Excessive rainfall forecasts are definitely a possibility, especially out here into the southwest U.S., associated with the moisture from the dual tropical systems, Priscilla and Raymond. So please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways, and check with your local National Weather Service office for any warnings that may be issued. Make sure you have your phone set to where if a flood warning or something like that is issued, that you can get those warnings directly to you. All you got to do is just make sure that they're turned on your phone. It'll automatically do it. So right here, I have the National Water Prediction Service here with water.gov, and we'll note that moderate flood observations are still ongoing here into parts of northeastern and the northeastern and parts of maybe east central Florida. Here on the Panhandle, we're dealing definitely with some of that onshore stuff. As you can see back here, though, all of these little browns, that's where we've got low water thresholds. And we would have certainly loved to seen some of that rain shift over here into southeastern Georgia, or southwestern Georgia, southeastern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. That would have been nice. But now, if we look here going all the way up the coastline, we've got moderate, minor floods. Then once we get up north of Cape Hatteras and the Outer Banks, that's where things get very, very concerning, especially in and around and near the entrance here to Chesapeake Bay. We've got a whole bunch of major flood forecasts. Big time. So please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways, and check with your local National Weather Service office for the particulars for your localized area. If you've got friends and family that live up here, make sure that they know this system is coming. Don't expect to do much traveling, especially if you're along the coast tomorrow. Would not really recommend it at all. That area, I mean, if you have to do what you have to do, I mean, we all know you have to do it. But please give yourself, if you do have to travel out into this, give yourself plenty of extra time and do not drive through flooded roadways. I cannot stress this enough. We've got plenty of areas here, 20 major flood forecasts, 21 moderate flood forecasts, and then 28 minor flood forecasts kind of stretched all throughout here, folks. So, again, please exercise caution. We do not need any loss of life due to this particular system. Now, we're going to jump over to our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity models. Euro on the left, GFS on the right. This is representative of areas of spin approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. So if we run this forward, there's our little wave out here. As you can see, the Euro picks up on it, the GFS picks up on it. Our little spot where we have our 020 or our 2040. The thing that's got me a little concerned is there is a significant difference. So let's come back here to the 48 hour. If you'll look here on the GFS for our coastal low, we've got one area right here. If you look here on the GFS, or the Euro is on the left, the GFS is on the right. I'm sorry, I am completely misspoken. I've spent too much time today yelling at the television because my Knowles and their football team played like trash here at home today. So I'm kind of I'm here, but I'm not really. If you look here with the Euro, we've got two areas of vorticity. That could lead to a little bit of extra energy coming in here for folks down here into the Carolinas, while at the same time we are driving that energetic storm, an energetic part of the system here into the northeast and mid-Atlantic states. So they do not agree, and they're only 48 hours apart from one another. So that's a part to where it's like, okay, that may take a little bit of nowcasting. I know it tries to show it right here where the GFS is concerned, but in about 24 hours, but then is able to pull it northward as to where some area of that kind of breaks off, and then another remnant piece of it gets up there into the northeast. So folks all along the east coast of the United States, please, please, please be very careful out here. And now if I run our little seeds, here comes our secondary wave right here. This is the wave that I was talking about that has not exited the African mainland right here. This is our highlighted area. That's not a threat at all. And let's play guess where it's at over here. You have no idea. It's pretty much gone. Our other wave that we're going to be watching exiting the African mainland, that energy is right here. As you could see, they're in a decent agreement with location, but strength-wise, the GFS is obviously a little bit stronger. The Euro is like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. We're just some clouds and a little bit of rain. And then obviously we've got a spot out here into the Eastern Pacific. So we will continue to run this forward. That was day 6. Now, as we run this forward, you will note that area down there into the Eastern Pacific has the potential to make landfall into the southern portions of Mexico. But now, if we're watching our wave as it comes across, there's the GFS. The GFS wants to develop something on it. The Euro is like, I still have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But there is a little bit of a positive sign with this, and that is this massive low pressure right here. Both models are in pretty decent agreement with that, as to where the large scale features are a lot easier for the global models to pick up on than our smaller, kind of mesoscale style features. Some of these tropical cyclones would be so small that the models don't even really pick up on them at all. Think of, I think it was Oscar that moved through this area, like the Turks and Caicos in the southeastern Bahamas. It was so small that the models were like, we don't see anything. And the satellite was like, no, I don't think so either. Then they flew a hurricane hunter out there and were like, oh, by the way, that's a hurricane. And it was extremely, extremely small. Very, very tiny. Something so small that it was very difficult for our, all of the technology that we have. It was so tiny that it was almost went completely missed and unheard of. But there was definitely impacts with it. Went all the way even into parts of eastern Cuba. It was a mess. But as we could see over the next 10 days, the only real threat thing to watch is going to be that second wave coming off of the African mainland as far as tropical nature is concerned. Now, if we take a look at our humidity levels, we have the 500 millibar on the top, the 700 millibar on the bottom, with the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. The 500 millibar level is approximately 18,000 feet above the ocean surface. The 700 millibar level is approximately 10,000 feet above the ocean surface. So we're looking at a specific layer within the atmosphere, within the low to mid-level of the atmosphere, to see what kind of dry air, moist air exists within that boundary or, denoted layer of the atmosphere. So if we run this forward, our browns are our dry air, greens are our moisture, and you will see that we will be able to track the moisture plume of that secondary wave that we were talking about all the way through. And look what the Euro shows. The Euro shows a very dominant feature. We're all the way out to day 10, by the way, folks. We're already there. The Euro shows a very dominant feature of extraordinarily dry air coming down into the tropical Atlantic and taking the intertropical convergence zone and absolutely smashing it all the way down to the northern portions of South America, with all of this dry air coming in like this. Now, if we look at it on the GFS, it's something similar. But as you could see, there was this moisture pocket that was able to develop prior to that. All right, out in front of it. The Euro did not get it developed. The GFS wanted to develop it. And honestly, I've got some questions on to whether the GFS is going to be a valid solution or not. And we're going to look at that in about 2 frames. If we take a look at our wind shear, here, again, Euro on the left, GFS on the right. This is representative of the winds between the 850 millibar level all the way up to the 200 millibar level. Now, folks would be like, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. Well, we're looking at the layers between about 5,000 feet above the ocean surface and 40,000 feet above the ocean surface. So that entire column of atmosphere where the majority, if not all, of weather you know, showers, thunderstorms, clouds, all of that exists primarily within those levels. Yes, it can go on either side, but if you don't have this if you don't have this specific layer cooperating, there's not going to be any other layer that you have to worry about other than maybe some fog. So if we run this forward, we will see there our coastal low out there, you know, our frontal boundary causing mess, breaks off, upper level low, transfers out, new low pressure and deepening trough over the western portions of the Atlantic, a short wave layer of energy here. This is non-tropical in nature, by the way, folks. But there's a little bit of a short wave piece of energy right here that may bring the opportunity for some rain. I hope so. May. I hope it don't come with anything severe, but that shortwave energy, you could definitely see it there. And then if we continue to run this forward, by the time that we get all the way to the end, now here at 240 hours, this is where things become a little interesting, because we know on our seeds and our moisture, we have that area of vorticity right here. But look at this. It's going to be running into headlong worth of shear. I don't think so. If we look at the euro has got some very similar values. We never got anything to develop. But if you look, there is a massive shear component like this coming across the main development region. This format here with the GFS minus this little thing right here, this is almost like a wintertime setup. It is. This is becoming very indicative of what we see for wintertime patterns, like complete off-season patterns. And you may be like, well, you know, hurricane season doesn't end. This is just October 21st. And, you know, we're looking there. And if we look here with the Global Climate Prediction Center, you know, we've still got plenty of areas that could develop. And yes, we're absolutely correct. But what about the Madden-Julian oscillation? Well, over the last couple runs, what we've seen is the development, and this is, Jonathan, I know you're listening. This is what I was talking about prior to us going live here tonight. If we look, the MJO is forecast to kind of move very quickly through and get out over here towards phase 2, phase 3, getting towards the Indian Ocean. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to bring back the GEFS, and I'm going to pull this up here. This is our 200 millibar velocity potential. This is areas to where we would see basically sinking and rising air. This is not the best environment. If we were going to see the a decent amount of tropical cyclone potential, it's gonna come with these colors right here. Well, folks, if you look at this map, that's the Indian Ocean. So what we're looking at here lines up with what we're looking at here. Okay, so let's check some of the ensembles, and this is why I was over here with the DeepMind. So I'm going to sit us right on top of the Indian Ocean. What you're going to see, we're going to look at the other side, because what we're looking for is the eruption of tropical cyclone potential. with that style of amplified Madden-Julian oscillation signal there in the forecast. Okay, let's run this forward. Days 3, 4, 5. Now we're at day 5. We're starting to get a couple dots out here. For the folks out here in the Philippines, keep an eye. As you can see, we've got another one coming, and I do not like where the hell that's going to end up. But look, day 7, day 8, day 9. Now we're at 240 hours out. We've got this whole area. This entire area is signaling. You've got all of it. You've got the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, down here on the western side of the Indian Ocean, maybe potentially a second one right here, and then the development of another one right here, all three of these headed that way towards Africa. This one headed towards Africa. Anything here towards India. That's just the way that things flow. But the MJO itself is causing this massive trigger in about 10 days. Even if I were to run this all the way out, and I swear, and y'all gonna hear me say unfathomable things. If this particular system out here, if this ends up in Vietnam, I'm going to absolutely lose my mind. These folks out here in northern portions of Vietnam are going through some of the flooding that I've seen reminds me of Katrina and New Orleans. Take that for what you will. That's what I see out here, and it is unbelievable. Back to back tropical cyclones, and they're just now, maybe over the next coming days, going to have some of that water to recede to where they may be able to get back to the tens of thousands of dwellings that have been just completely flooded. I promise you, folks, it looks almost identical to what we saw with pictures of aerial views from Katrina in New Orleans. Almost identical, and it's heartbreaking to see. But that's kind of the signal, because if we roll it forward, we don't see a lot out into the Atlantic. All right, we see that one signal out there with the Eastern Pacific, that second wave that we were talking about, but then by the time we get to the end, there's nothing left. Now, granted, it's way far out there in time, but that's certainly optimistic, because if we buy 2 weeks, 3 weeks, getting into this time, by the time that the MJO phase comes back around, cold fronts, no, absolutely not. You're shutting the basin down. You'll end up in a wintertime pattern, MJO or not, it doesn't matter. So, there is some optimism, but it still remains to where we've got to be respectful of it. At the end of the day, the experts at the Climate Prediction Center still have us with potential. So, we still have to treat the season with respect. But if these keep going and trending the way that they are, we could see some adjustment to some of this, and hopefully with a suppressive MJO phase, possibly. Maybe we could just get through. All we've got to do is get through the end of this month, really, and then the major threat goes way down for U.S. interests. Not saying that it's not possible, because this weird season has been weird all season. So it's kind of a little bit of a concern. So, I mean, just Stay vigilant, stay weather aware. It's not over yet, but I know that you know we might have a certain singer beginning to warm up in the background. We'll have to wait and see. Uh, all right, jumping out here to the Eastern Pacific. This pathetic thing right here is Raymond. It has not been producing shower and thunderstorm activity for a while. It's just basically running off of a lot of moisture up into the Gulf of California here and into the northwestern portions of Mexico. Again, this thing it's a low pressure center. There's no doubt about it, but it is absolutely pathetic looking on satellite. It really is. And then our little area of trying to be somewhat spin. Cut this off right there. You can see that there is definitely a flow going on there with a lot of those clouds driving down. And if I come back over here on Earth Null, jump up to the 850, we do have a Gulf of Tehuantepec and, kind of some flow trying to draw up from the Eastern Pacific in association with this deep trough and the developing low pressure off the East Coast. And then the overall central player of the gyre, though, is out here into the Eastern Pacific. And as a result of that, I guess I deleted the damn thing. Hold on. I was closing a whole bunch of tabs because of Priscilla and everything. Like, we lost all of that. Let's see. We needed to go here. We currently have a 30% chance of development over the next 7 days with that little area of gyre interest, noise, whatever. 0% chance over the next 48 hours. And then Raymond. I mean, it's all in all, things have gotten quite a bit better. So tropical storm or tropical depression Raymond is located at 22.5 north, 109.9 west, about 30 miles south of the southern tip of Baja, California Peninsula there. Maximum sustained winds 35 miles an hour, moving north-northwest at 14 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,005 millibars. Since it's a tropical depression, there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect. Hazards affecting land, that's going to be the problem. As we could see here, rainfall totals of 4 to 6 inches with local amounts of 8 or more inches expected across northwestern Sinaloa, Sonora, and northern Chihuahua. This rainfall will bring the risk of flash flooding, especially in areas of higher terrain. Rainfall totals of 1 to 2 inches are expected across central Sinaloa, the southern portions of Baja California, and across the far southeastern portions of the Baja California and far northeastern Baja California. But moisture from Raymond will also bring the potential for additional heavy rainfall over portions of the southwestern United States Sunday into early next week. And then surf, honestly, yeah, there's probably going to be some generated stuff, but it's a tropical depression. So just exercise caution if you go out there. Shouldn't be turning up too much, though I would admit it's been out there for a while. There's our pathetic looking forecast cone, and it is forecast to be nothing by the time that we get to the 11 p.m. advisory tonight. Our key messages, we have already kind of gone over those, and as you can see, they are basically telling us that this was like, what? They must have stopped. Did they stop issuing key messages? "8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for the 11th. Why didn't they just take this off? This is from the 11 a.m. advisory, Eastern Daylight Time. Okay, whatever, because it says tropical storm conditions, and you would have expected them to take tropical. It's a Tropical depression. All right. Yeah, we'll just eliminate that. They're all working for no pay right now anyway. So mistakes are definitely acceptable. Um, if we take a look at the rainfall forecast again, isolated 4+ inches, maybe higher, getting up where into the 4 to 6, maybe 8-inch rainfall totals. So please, folks, exercise a great amount of caution. The forecaster's discussion. That's what I really wanted to kind of highlight. Although the actual system may not survive beyond Sunday, the moisture associated with the larger envelope from Raymond will support heavy rainfall, which could result in flash flooding into portions of northwestern Mexico and the southwestern United States this weekend through early next week. And there's definitely, we've already gone over the flood risks and stuff like that out there. So please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways. We still got a little while to go. I know I had a rainfall. I thought I had a rainfall for out there. Well, I guess I don't. Well, let's jump out to the southwest and I'll find it eventually. I guess we don't have a southwest. Duh. This was the rainfall that we've seen over the last 48 hours. So, and there's still expected more, with the primary threat coming over to off to the southeastern portions of Arizona and the southwestern portions of New Mexico. This is the current forecast over the next 168 hours or 7 days. They have come down some because Raymond just could not hold on to much. But it doesn't take a lot to cause flash flooding out here for these folks at all. Hydrophobic soils, desert soils, they don't mix that much with too many heavy rainfall events and especially tropical downpours. So please, folks, just don't drive through flooded roadways. That's all I ask. Taking a look at the Euro legacy, going out 7 days, we don't really have a lot, much of signal at all. If we take a look at the GEFS, very similar, not much of a signal at all. Couple here, couple there, especially associated with this little gyre feature. And then if we look at the AI, again, not much. So we certainly may catch a small lull in active storms. We're still going to have things on the outlooks, but a small lull, at least in named storm activity for the National Hurricane Center. That meaning the Atlantic, Eastern Pacific, and Central Pacific Basins. All right, jumping out here to the Typhoon Warning Center. We did have a pretty significant earthquake yesterday down there in the Drake Passage, which is between Antarctica and South America. It was a 7.8. It was pretty shallow. Thankfully, no tsunami warnings were issued that I am aware of, but it was certainly quite a powerful earthquake there. So it is still noted by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. We still have Tropical Storm Nakri out here, and I was looking at its overall forecaster's analysis. And if we look here, it is forecast to reach an intensity of 80 knots, but then over the next 72 hours, so getting out here to about the end here of the forecast period, it is forecast to turn extratropical. The big question is, how much of a significant impact are we going to talk about with that little tiny island right there? They got hit hard with Typhoon Hailong and had quite a bit of a duration of sustained typhoon or hurricane force winds. So the question is, are they going to be able to avoid any of these purple areas? This purple area located, those are our typhoon strength winds. These darker red circles are our 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds. And then these wider red circles are our tropical storm force wind field. So we are expecting some impacts. It would be theoretically, likely, at least with this forecast, that they would also see those 50 knot or 58 mile an hour winds. The question is, do they end up with those sustained typhoon winds? It doesn't look like it, but it is certainly going to be too close for comfort. I'm sure that they've had enough, with especially after Hai Long just passing through there this past week. So they've had enough. I'm almost certain of it. Oh, all right. I'm going to check and see if I've got any questions. I'm not really expecting any. All right, everybody. Well, that's about all that I have here for tonight. I will be back live again tomorrow night and every night at least through Halloween, regardless what we've got out there. Once we get to Halloween, though, that's going to be a different story. After Halloween, we're going to go back to our 40% threshold, and I'll be definitely looking for an extended break. So, all right, everybody, that's about all I've got for tonight. So we'll be back live tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and we'll talk to you then. Good night.